welcome back to Auntie. I can't even believe the day we're going to have. I want to tell you right now, you promised me that you will get your earbuds in your ears and get off speakerphone because this guest I could not wait to have here in the studio. She's a mover. She's a shaker. She's an entrepreneur. She is all of the diva. And let me tell you, what do you call it? NSFW. I had to look at my notes. Not safe for work. She might use some 4-letter words to get her point across. I love her. She's my sister. She's the fabulous Darienne Lake.
Hello? Hello? The call is coming from inside the house. Be careful. It's strange in here.
Don't you love the telephones?
I do. I really do. These are actually from your home personal collection at home?
That's right. I have so many of these phones because, I was a telemarketer in a previous life.
I actually was a telefundraiser for a little while as well.
Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we don't even need them. They're props.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
They're in the way. They're in the way.
I remember the good old days. Oh, the good old days of talking on the phone and screaming down to your parents, hang off the phone, I've got it.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have a story to tell you about that. I'm just going to jump right into it. Okay. I was, when I was a little boy, girl, gal, girl, boy, fella, I used to get interested in the fellas, and I thought, I wonder where the most masculine, my type, the bearded fellas. Well, I thought I would prank phone call the local gas station or garage, and I was like, hi, and I was using my lady voice, and I would have phone sex with these prank phone calls, and my father was like, who are you talking to?
Oh my God, would he pick up the phone?
He pick up the phone.
Holy shit.
Terrible.
Oh my God.
Terrible. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the fabulous Darienne Lake. I don't even know where to begin. I moved to Rochester, New York in 99, and I was just thrust into the nightlife because there was nothing like this in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And there on the stage is Darienne Lake as Wonder Woman.
Oh, I remember that so well. Yeah.
I mean, I was mouth agape because obviously you had the costume. It was stunning. The lip sync, the performance, the energy, the dancing. And I mean, not modest at all. Plus size gal, working it. And I was like, wow.
I know. I think it's I actually made the costume myself too. It's a little wonky if we can find a picture and stuff, but yeah, it just, I made the costume and also I think that whole body positivity thing was always sort of in me. For me, being fat was like having freckles. It was just a part of me, it's like the color of my skin or how pale it is or, all that stuff. So right. I think that, that's why I was like, and you get more energy, more excitement out of the crowd when you don't, hide in the corner. And, so.
Well, we're going to get into a lot of that. But what I really want to do is a brief, you've said it on other interviews. And of course, we know you from RuPaul's Drag Race and all that jazz, but a brief origin story of the fabulosity of Darienne Lake.
Okay. A brief. Yeah. So I was attacked by a gang of drag queens. We used to go, me and my friend Sean from high school, we would dress up on Halloween and then we went and got wigs and we thought we were going to be cute and stuff. And then we couldn't do drag in school because it was the 80s. Right. And so at Fairport High. And so there was a lot of restrictions and stuff and all that. So we were sort of dressing for ourselves and stuff. And then, and then we would go out to the clubs and go out to see. My friend Sean was like, oh, there's this place that plays really good music and there's drag queens and stuff there. And we had seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show where Aggie was performing. Aggie June was performing as Frankenfurter. And she's like, she does this show. It's amazing. It's a gay bar, but they play really good music. And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. And so we went out to the club and saw the drag queens. And then we realized that they used to go to the Princess restaurant and have breakfast and stuff after the show. So we would go there and sort of stalk them a little bit.
Yeah.
Like some of the super fans do these days. And so then one of my other high school friend, Sandra, was wearing one of my wigs. So I put it on my head and I strutted around and they were like, you got to be a little closet queen. So they were like, we're going to put you in drag. And I was like, okay. So they put me in drag and at an after party. And they said, oh my God, like Ricky Lake from Hairspray. So I was like, gosh. Be Ricky Lake. And I was like, no, be Darienne Lake, her little sister or something. And Darienne Lake is an amusement park between Rochester and Buffalo. And so they're like, be her, 2 tons of fun, twisted steel and sex appeal.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And, like an amusement park, most guys vomit after riding me.
Well, and listen, right from the beginning, it seems to me like there was this amazing confidence and just this empowering, like, put the mask on and I'm really me.
Yeah, there was something like the whole Wonder Woman thing, Diana Prince, she turns into Wonder Woman. It's like Clark Kent turns into Superman. Like, I love that whole alter ego thing.
Right.
So that's why also when I'm not in drag, I feel like I'm a very private person and I sort of like only let certain things out to certain people. I like, it's hard for me to really be vulnerable and talk too much to people too personally because you don't know what other people's intentions are.
Right.
So I think that's why I always have my guard up.
Extroverted introvert.
Exactly.
I relate to that.
Completely.
I don't know who first said that in our little drag group. I might have been Aggie, but I was like, what? You are not. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we kind of all are.
Yeah.
We really cherish that time. And I think that comes from our childhood. I mean, we have very similar stories.
Yeah.
We both came from multiple siblings.
Back in the 80s, you also had to hide who you were
Right.
as a person. So you had to have that different personality and stuff, because everybody thought like, oh, you're going to come out. Oh, and of course the gay cancer was out there, killing everybody. So it was like, oh, well, you have that because you shared a cup with them, So there was a lot of things that we had to go through. So I think it was self-protecting for us to do that.
Right. And it was a matter of being bullied at home, bullied at school, and then you're bullying yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
that's, and you have amazing story. We both have written our life stories and
in our shows and stuff.
shows.
Yeah.
And yours is Altered Boy. It's obviously on streaming.
Right. But it's also constantly changing as well. Like whenever I perform it in a new place, there's new things that I sort of add and take away from it. And because as we grow and we become different people and stuff. So.
Well, it takes a lot of guts. I mean, for me, the same thing happens with There's Always Time for a Cocktail. People are like, well, I saw it and this was different or that was different.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I did it, one of the questions that from the audience, because we had the audience there, and of course you were very supportive and you were there, and you sat in the back and you go, but why are you in drag?
Yeah.
And it was so amazing because I was like, I don't know if I've answered that question in this particular show. And that is what's so cool about the one woman show is that it continues to evolve. And then as you're doing it, there's a degree of it that's therapeutic and you're able to find different things. And
I really appreciate going to see your show over and over again and see the different things. I don't appreciate that you make me pay for a ticket every time, but every time. It's like, can I get on the list? No. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, of course.
You can get on the list, but you must buy merchandise. Okay. Thank you.
Well, yeah. You don't even follow me on Instant Snatch 12.
No, I follow you. I just muted you. It's fine.
I can't.
No. I got so carried away with some of the things, so that's why I was having somebody else handle my social media.
Right.
So a lot of times stuff won't come up. Like how sometimes if people have like multiple posts in one, the first one's not seen because my social media person already looked at it. So sometimes things get lost in the shuffle and.
I'm not. I'm just teasing. I know how I am. I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning texting the world. I mean, it's just it's the old age. But okay, so, and too much coffee. But the other thing, I think back to those times when I first moved to Rochester and being just coming out, just getting divorced. Rochester was Oz, and I remember seeing you, this superstar on stage, and you were, of course, with Aggie June and Ambrosia Salad and Naomi Cain and Pandora Box, and just it was my first taste of the Drag Race, but it was this first taste of drag celebrity. And Sam and I would follow you like the stalkers that we were on Park Avenue after we were like, that's her. Oh my gosh, she's out there. Look where she looks. We'd be like literally like, paparazzi hiding in the bushes.
I remember some of the early days of the internet and stuff, and people were like, oh, have you Googled yourself? And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll Google myself and see what's there. And, the results would come up and it was like, ooh, I saw Darienne Lake today at the gym and ... And then you have to click on the link to figure out what it is. And somebody's personal blog and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, so there were a lot of things like that. It was like, oh, I saw Darienne Lake at Wegmans, ... I was like, it was really cool. She smiled and we talked, whatever, yada, yada. Or I saw Darienne Lake at the gym and ... I got to say, and I was like, oh, click. And it said, she didn't look too good. I was like, God damn it. I'm trying to improve my life here. There was another boy who said that I was rude because I wasn't talking to him when he was on the treadmill next to me. I'm like, I'm fighting for my fucking life, breathing so hard. Like I barely get out a sentence.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to like take that of like, so that was my first sort of dealing with the fame and the criticisms of people and stuff. And, they're out there to talk about you.
Well, it makes sense because before my time with Mothers, there was a place called Club Marcella's.
Yeah.
And again, superstar status here in Rochester, New York.
I know we were on billboards and stuff, which was
Right.
sort of unheard of like this was like in the 90s, and yeah.
When we had to post a flyer, we literally had to go around and post a flyer.
Yes. Put them on cars, paint them on on light poles and stuff. And telephone poles. You Google it.
Google it. Well, just working to get the crowd in and I mean,
barking.
Yeah. Literally throughout the city. And now by day, you're a fabulous hairstylist. And what brought you to the realization that was something you wanted to do?
I guess I always sort of had that creative outlet, like wanting to do something creative. And, when I was little, playing with like my sister's Barbies and stuff and playing with their hair. And she had like the Barbie head it was probably like 10 inches, maybe a foot high or something like that. I'm bad. If a guy tells me it's 6 inches, I believe him. Anyway, so, it's like this Barbie head and you can brush their hair and all that stuff, whatever. It's very similar to the mannequins that we use in school, but smaller. And so I was always like coloring their hair with markers and things. And then my sister was getting pissed off. I was basically making Weird Barbie before Weird Barbie. Like I was, but I never really cut her hair in the whole Weird Barbie thing. I was like, she wants like a nice bob with bangs because I was obsessed with like, different singers and stuff. And so I was like, ooh, she needs to look like that. So I think I always had that sort of thing. And then I started doing hair. Let's see, I went to hair school. I started doing drag in 1990, started doing hair and messing around, but then went to hair school in 1993 with Pandora, and then graduated in 1994. And so then I was working in the bars already. So I got all my clients that way. They're like, you do hair now?
Yeah, it's a great way to, network and get people.
Yeah.
I mean, you were definitely one of the gals who used to like to network. I understand there's a photo album.
There is a photo album of my network contacts and stuff. So yeah, that was a great, the interviews as our good friend Kiki Velasquez Lord says.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, are you interviewing somebody today in your dressing room? I was like, I sure am.
Wow.
He's going to get the position, I think. Yeah.
I mean, that was that superstar status. I mean, you had your own dressing rooms at the club. People would come and like fawn all over all of you. And obviously, it seems like the drag and the creativity led to doing hair. And, you're a gig worker who has made all of this happen for themselves. What kind of advice would you give to people out there listening who are like trying to figure out, I don't have somebody to help me with, I don't have Mr. Davis to pay the bills while you try to find your dream, Kasha.
Or whatever. The thing is like, I mean, you really have to help yourself. If this is your passion, if this is your thing, you really have to get out there. Like I'm guilty of like sitting at home and just like sort of living my life and sort of whatever and not necessarily rowing out to meet my boat, and waiting for my, ship to come in. So, it's great. Like you're very passionate about, kicking your own ass to like get motivated and stuff. And so that's the thing is like, if I try and like get my focus somewhere so that I can get more motivated and all those kind of things or whatever. But then sometimes I take that time to I guess, wallow in my misery, but then some of my comedy comes out of that, like the funny things that I can think of. Like even today, like we were having a little breakfast and something hit me as funny. And so I just like, okay, let me write that down. So I was just texting him on my phone. And
well, the funniest things seem to come from real life.
Absolutely. Like even just, Ambrosia sat on the booth and Luciano, it's one of those booth things and the air in the booth, he just went boop and just popped right up. And, it's like that seesaw effect of, one person sits on the other side. And since Luciano is sort of a very small, petite, lean person.
He's a cute little fella. He's our trainer. Yeah. He'll be on this
Poor little
podcast.
guy. Poor little feller.
He's the cutest.
He's just a boy. Little feller.
The other day, I took him to the airport, and I went in. His sink was full of dirty dishes. I had to wash them.
Yeah,
I had to wash them. I was like, "You cannot go on vacation for the weekend with these dirty dishes." And he was like, "Thanks, Mom." I was like, "Seriously, though." Anyway, Auntie, I'm available to wash your dishes as well.
That is true. Whole house is going to smell like Pine Sol and ammonia.
Oh my gosh. Well, so obviously we've had the opportunity with RuPaul's Drag Race, but prior to that, you had the really cool 2 other opportunities, right?
Yeah.
With
the Ricky Lake show.
Ricky Lake and VH1.
Yeah. And the VH1. Yeah.
I mean,
and then there was the other like little projects and stuff too that sort of happened, but yeah. And then like with VH1, we were like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. VH1, they like replay everything like every 5 minutes.
Rochester gay scene was a buzz. I'll never forget. I tried to get my ass somehow involved in the whole thing. I had this furry vest on. I was probably drinking all the Tanqueray. I was like, I don't care what it costs. Get me up front. And I think I was so proud of myself because the photo I'm tipping you, and it was with a $5 bill because I would never tip
$5 American dollars. This was in the 90s.
I mean,
turn of the century.
Other people would give bigger bills, but I was always like $1 or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is going to be on TV. You never know. They might select me from the audience or something. I don't even know. I wasn't even doing drag yet. But it was so cool. It was that celebrity moment. And, here we are at this point. What are you seeking to do next? What is it that's on your kind of dream wish list? You've had these opportunities. Obviously, we both know if we got another phone call from Mothership, we would probably say yes.
Probably. It's you get used to that abuse, and there's also that I'm going to get it right this time. I'm going to do it right this time. And now that I know,
I'm going to prove it to them.
And that's the thing too. And then you're like, okay, well, what I know and what they know and what we're, you have to somewhere come in the middle and all that stuff.
Right.
Whatever. And then, I think sort of my goal is to continue on with this career and stuff and really enjoy it and take as many opportunities as possible. This summer I'm going to be going to the UK again. I haven't gone in years and hopefully really branch out and also go on cruises and stuff. And I was just on a Virgin Voyages cruise and they have the diva on there. There's always a drag queen and stuff. She does all these great funs. And I always think that would be a perfect,
Well, you'd be perfect for that. Just keep her on the ship. It's like those retired people that don't have a house and they just go from ship to ship.
Right. Exactly. That could be me, and there is a doctor on board. And so, but also I love that, because I am very good with people in person and all that stuff. And usually people are like, I didn't realize how quick or how funny you are or how whatever,
Right.
You're actually nice in person. I'm like, yes, what you see or what you may have seen is just TV, it's so.
Well, I think it's a matter of we've been taught it's not necessarily about getting the gig. It's about getting the next gig at that gig. So the way you treat the fans, the way you treat the other queens, the way you treat the people who've booked you and all that. But I guess I'm leaning towards the fact it seems like, we've done so many different shows together. We've done cabaret shows together. You've done, but it seems like stand-up more and more becomes something that it's natural. You're meant to do. We just did a show recently and we all had our little plans and you sort of just went off and it was magic.
Right. I had my plan and all that stuff or whatever. And I sort of came back to it a little bit, but there was something about, something about my brain sometimes spits out like spits out like a juice box and, they're magnetic. Yeah. Perfect. I talk with my hands a lot. I'm Italian. I'm not. Right. But so, there was something sort of magical about the audience or whatever. And I was actually talking about personal experiences and just being slutty and a whore and all that stuff. And I know some people are sort of shocked, like, what? But sex is for everybody.
Well, and I love that. And you touched on it earlier on about body positivity and just,
when you get tired of my hole, you can pick a role. It just go to town. Let's go crazy. Let's get freaky. Because that's the thing too. There are people who like to get peed on. There are people who like to splosh food on each other. There's a pot for every lid. There's something, so.
No, but I think, yes, but also just, the typical expectation of somebody who might be curvy like ourselves is that they're going to be more shy. They're going to be the kind, sweet one.
Some of them will be.
And that's great. Yeah. But you have always, no matter what, always exuded a level of confidence and of sexiness. And this kind of goes into this question about how do you maintain that attitude with your body positivity, with your mental aspect? Because the world is not necessarily always there to support people who are of a different size.
Yeah. And there are moments where I do, sort of pull back and isolate myself a little bit. And I know that's sort of I start giving into whatever my addictions are and that kind of thing and isolating and you think you're going to be, okay, I'm going to work on myself. So I'm going to focus all by myself. But then I realize that that's even worse and it starts turning into these other things or whatever. So it helps to sort of like move out and get a little bit more extroverted and do the things, a lot of times people get to a certain age and think, oh, I'm too old for that, and like even just like going out to the club, people are like, oh, I'm too old for that, honey. I'm like, I'm in my 30s now. And then they get to their 40s and they're like, I just wasted the last 10 years of my life not having fun and not enjoying myself, giving that pleasure, because we can easily be into our 80s and 90s, and there, that's a long friggin' time. That's another like 50 years for me.
Right. Well, I do love, I saw this quote today, and obviously we know that I talk about my alcoholism and being in recovery, but an addict alone is in bad company. And I thought, oh my God, because it's so, being that, extrovert and introvert, it is such a desire to just be like, get into the cocoon, not talk to anybody, not reach out.
But then there's like a Rat City where they have the rats or whatever that were given the cocaine water, but they're by themselves. But then they put them in Rat City where they could all like hang out together, and then they stopped drinking the cocaine water because they had connections with other people. Misery loves company, but then it's, it's sort of, it makes us feel good.
I think it's about the connections with other people. And we've been fortunate enough. I've been fortunate enough to kind of come into the Rochester drag family. What's in the water? Why is Rochester drag? You've toured the world.
Yeah, it's probably Kodak. Kodak probably put a lot of chemicals in the water and into the groundwater for so many years that it has poisoned us all. But I don't know. It's just maybe, the small town thing. Sometimes I go to a lot of small towns and you see the drag is just amazing there because they all sort of like work together and there's one bar. So they're all performing together. And they all fight like sisters and all that stuff too, like we do sometimes. Yeah. But, it's you've got nowhere else to go. So you sort of like foster each other's creativity. And, you always find like you should go to this one. She's always making stuff for everybody, or she's doing this, or, so.
We've had drag sales. We've had opportunities to get rid of things, but we are always each thinking like, this would be good for you.
Right.
I loved that. I came from theater, and what I really gravitated with the crowd of the gaggle of divas is that, yes, there's shade. Yes, there's silliness and all that. But pretty much everybody, even if you really kind of can't stand them, one way or another eventually tries to help one another. And I think that's the thing that's very special here. And not everybody is trying to do, like sometimes they'll be like, oh, Darienne's got this really cool song, and somebody might try to do it, but in their own way.
Right.
We try to encourage each other to be individual. And that makes, to me, a powerful show.
Yeah. There was one queen that we were making fun of once years ago. And so she always used to do this one song. She used to do You Gotta Be by Desiree. And so then when she got sort of let go from the bar, we decided to have a show where we all impersonated her. And so we all, like 6 of us, came out and did You Gotta Be back to back in the same outfit that she would always wear. And so after the first time and then the second time it repeated, people were like, oh my God, she's doing the same song in the same outfit. And then the third time they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then like the fourth time it just became more hilarious. And by the fifth time, everybody's singing along and doing the same moves. And so, but it was amazing because like, even though we were all doing the same thing, we all sort of looked different, all acted and performed differently, even though we were impersonating somebody. So.
And it was a roast.
Yeah.
And you're very good at shade. And tell me, what was it like in the, on the tour with, the hosting, the roast.
The haters roast.
Yeah, I know to me, when you got that, you get excited, you get a little envious of your friends sometimes because you want stuff for yourself. But I was like, this is where Darienne belongs.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Absolutely. It was so much fun because, it's especially because like, there was on the Alan Chuck cruise years ago, like Mimi I'm First was looking for like ideas for the roast and stuff. And so we were all in the nightclub and like I was helping her with ideas and things and stuff like that. And I was even telling her like, well, even if you threw in like, the old Phyllis Diller thing, like when I was born, the doctor said, is it a boy or a girl? And my mom said, is it a boy or a girl? And the doctor said, no. So, it's like you can do that about like, Jinx Monsoon or something like that. And so all these things. And I think there is a clip somewhere on YouTube of Mimi doing the roast and people are like, oh my God, she's amazing and all that stuff, whatever. She's so hilarious. She was helped, but yeah.
Well, yes.
But we all need a little help and it's great to do that for other people. That's why I've been like blessed to like write for other people and have them do it, like Lawrence Chaney or Trinity the Talk or what's her name from the UK? Anyway, so it's great to have that Ginger Minge, and so it's great to like do these things for people that sort of work. And then even when we were doing the show, like Latrice was doing this thing. She was talking about Shea Coulee, and she's like, "Do you ever notice how her eyes are so close together?" And so she was just sort of like going off that. And I'm like, you have to like add a joke to that. Like she could look through a keyhole with both eyes open, like her eyes are so close. So she's like, oh, so she added that. So it was great to like add to others. Like Mimi on First was talking about Lady Bunny being so old that rainbows were in black and white. And I was like, mostly white. Because, it's sort of like a dark part of our past. But it's great to bring that, humor and light to everything. So
yeah. Well, you obviously are a great writer. And do you think a lot of that comes from that being the little bit of a recluse. So you're like
A little bit.
jotting this stuff down, doing a lot of research. I mean, you seem to know quotes from every freaking movie. You'll talk about the movie, or you'll know, and you can reference it and pull from it.
Right.
I mean, that is a talent, because you're essentially studying your art.
Yeah, and then that way you can also there's sort of like formulas of things, of jokes, of songs, of whatever, and then you can sort of change the things how they fit into towards a certain person and stuff. So.
Right.
That's sort of exciting to me. And also I love the idea of like, just like languages and linguistics and things that we say, or even words and wordplay. Like I was talking about Willem, and I was like, I mean, she got disqualified from Drag Race, but she has come so far down her legs because she's got a loose asshole. She's a whore, and like, so.
Told you, not safe for work.
Come so far. So, you have to look at it like, is it spelled C-O-M-E or C-U-M, whatever, so.
Yeah.
So these little things just, like even just like saying the phrase, like, I couldn't love you any more than I do. It's not always a compliment.
Yeah, you never know. You got to really listen with Darienne. Okay, so the question then is, would the Haters Roast be like, of all the different tours, of all the different types of shows you've done, would that be your favorite?
I really did enjoy doing it and all that stuff or whatever. Had a great time doing it. I think sometimes people get a little too like, oh, you guys are being a little too mean, and I don't like when people are mean and stuff. And so,
what do you say about that with comedy, where people are getting so sensitive?
I mean, they have every right to be sensitive. So, and that's your issue. It's, as long as it's not to the point of like disrespectful in a way of like mocking, like, marginalized groups or anything,
right?
Unless of course you're the marginalized group yourself,
right?
Like, I'll make fat jokes about people because I am still fat. I will still always be fat, and people are like, oh, you should make that. Oh, well, you've lost weight. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm still like, I have the benefit of having all that history, so I'm allowed to make jokes.
Did it make it uncomfortable for you when Ru said, you're very funny, your stand-up is great, but you're not fat anymore? Was that like, what do I do?
I'm like, but I still am, I'm still large, because filming the show, I was still, 285 pounds or whatever, 290. So to me, that is large at 5'8", thick, heavy, meaty. And so, and that's the thing, even people who could be 175, they're like, oh, I'm skinny fat. I'm like, okay.
Well, you do a very good job of obviously the body positivity, but you talk about you're doing it for your strength. You're doing it for your health.
Right.
You're doing it for the longevity.
So that's why I'm not worried about what the scale says and all that kind of stuff or whatever. Yes, I have, like I look at it and monitor it. Like I know I'm like on an upswing a little bit, because like, I don't know what it is about getting on the show. It's like once you get off the show and then you're doing everything and you get that stress of like, okay, how am I going to be perceived? Is everything going to go okay? And then you start to go back into your habits of like, I'm going to comfort myself with food or, alcohol or, coffee or who knows, whatever it is you're going to do.
Sex, gambling, shopping, all of it.
I know.
This is another one that I thought was really funny. Not funny, but
hilarious.
If everything looks like shit to me, your head is too far up your own ass. I mean, it's true. We could overthink things. And I think I am working so hard to just try to say like, okay, what, people ask me, are you happy with what you did on RuPaul's Drag Race?
Right.
All Stars 8. Yes, I'm thrilled. It's over. It's at this point a couple years ago. What am I doing now? And I think, we have sisters, and you talk about lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, they have this, we've all been gifted. We are very grateful. We've talked about this. But there are some that are really, they got the extra special gift.
They do. And something connects with them and with the audience and stuff that people just go crazy over and stuff. Like, I think even I saw a clip of Laganja Estranja talking about how like, in the same way, she wasn't as marketable as Alyssa and as Shangela and stuff. And she's like, I'm still a normal person. And, I drive a Nissan, like, and all that stuff or whatever. But again, there are some people who don't have a car at all. There are some people. So we are very fortunate and stuff. And, people sometimes think like, oh, well, you were done this and you must have money and you must have this. I'm like, we're all struggling people. We all still pay taxes and we all have,
I like how you just put on public record that you pay taxes. Yes, Darienne pays taxes.
Yes,
also,
quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly.
Yeah. And then also, we have expensive things to buy.
Yes.
It's
drag has gotten more expensive than ever.
Absolutely, and it's not just for us Ru girls that get the Ru girl price. It's the regular girls who are like, oh my god,
right?
$400, $500 for a wig, one wig.
And I know that we're all sort of in this sort of kind of pool, but it's the social media drag.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have, I just got a dress that probably for some people is not that much money, but it was $950. Mm-hmm. And I know that the one time I wear it at a brunch, it's going to get filmed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a picture. And once it's out, people are going to be like, me.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's like, oh, you look good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of like however many you have, and they're not all that much, but I'm just saying that that is part of this business model that gets
or you get the
crazy.
people who say like, oh, you look great in that dress. The extra weight looks good on you. Like, excuse me, excuse your mouth. Yeah. Like when people, those compliments that just make you feel great.
Well, one of my favorite compliments early on, and I think it was, I don't remember. I don't want to throw the person under the bus, but I think I know who it is. I don't want to say. Anyway, they were like, I just love how your whole take on drag. You're just like, basically, you're not even trying at all. It's like, you're supposed to look bad. Right. It's not the thing that was said to me in the mirror. It was somebody in the audience. And I was like, seriously? This is like the best. Like I spent money. This is not a Goodwill dress today.
I spent money on this.
I spent like $12. Terrible. Okay, so what would you say in your experience would be your biggest regret?
Biggest regret? In all of like doing my drag career or just my life?
I mean, you could answer either or both, whatever.
I know it's hard to like, have regrets because, your life has brought you to a place. But yeah, I mean, I can't help but have regrets about things or whatever. I regret around the turn of the century, when we were all like into the Atkins craze and all that stuff, and I was working out, and then I had bought my house 2004, like I'd lost weight, everything was great. And then I just got distracted with what I thought was important. And I was like, well, how come I'm not happy? I thought this was going to fix everything, losing the weight or whatever was going to make me happy. So my regret was not getting the checkup from the neck up then and realizing like, no, you're happy, shut up, keep your head down or, whatever, or keep your chin up or, just keep swimming. Yeah. And so that was a big regret because then I gained it all back and then some and all that. And so, it's, and that's never good for you to go through that. So that I would think is my biggest regret in life. I think for my career, I think that also sort of ties into it because when I was gaining the weight, I started pulling back and I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be noticed, and I wanted to hide. And so I think that letting all those intrusive thoughts, red rum, mess with my head.
Well, it's like the biggest lesson here for both of us, for anyone who struggles, is to reach out.
Yeah.
Whether it's, as you just mentioned,
but I've always
therapy,
been like,
whatever the case may be, there's tools of just reaching out to other people.
But growing up, like when we were crying and stuff, our parents were like, I don't want to hear it, go,
right.
Like don't fight your own battles and stuff. But they didn't have those tools to really help us, So for me, it's really hard to accept compliments and stuff, but it's also really hard to accept help or to reach out or to ask for things.
Well, that's because you're a very strong, independent person. Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure if I just want to share or reach out and just.
And I do feel better if I have done it all myself. There was a time where I was like after we had gotten back from season 6 of filming, that I was financially really struggling and all that stuff or whatever. And so then I was like, I couldn't really afford my car payment. And so I got a different car, which was cheaper. And I was trying to do all these things or whatever at the same time. And this was, we got done filming, but there was no money coming in.
Right.
But then I had a friend who was like, I can loan you some money if you need to, no interest, no whatever. But I was like, no, I'll do it myself. And I figured it out myself. And I felt so much more, I guess I was proud of myself that I'm like, I did this myself, so.
But you did. And I mean, honestly, like, I think that what you don't want to share is that you are probably one of the kindest people I've ever met. You're one of the nicest people. You don't like to accept the compliments, but I'm going to be that annoying friend that continues to remind you. And I think that fact that we have this family, this support system, sometimes we say, oh gosh, they're going to be there.
Right.
Right. And sometimes it's the consistency of getting together and sending a message that helps. So,
But,
this is what you can
even
do for
though
each
like,
other.
I feel like that is like the great thing too about our friendship is that we do have those moments where we can be like, all right, you're getting a little too,
honesty.
which is great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've got to be honest
then,
with each other.
Then we'll like sort of have a cooling off period and then, and then it's back to being, okay, we're good.
Yeah. You taught me, honestly, I was at the point physically where I was gaining weight and I was like, you know what, this is going to, I'm in acceptance. And you gently taught me about some things that I needed to do with regard to counting calories, but you were like, get back into the gym. And now we have this like other side group that's outside of drag that we gather and Luciano helps us. And I think I appreciate that from you.
Yeah.
All right. What was the worst gift? And I'm hoping that this is going to be the answer that I'm hoping for. What was the worst gift you've ever received?
Well, the worst gift. Well, when it comes to drag gifts, there was this dress that apparently came from X Plus Wear. That fucking horrible website. Scammers. Absolute scammers.
And I felt so bad because I love coffee mugs, as you can see.
Yeah.
And you got us the most beautiful Mackenzie Child coffee mugs.
I know you like them.
Yeah. And I was like so proud of myself because I don't know, I got a couple, maybe there was a couple little drag things, but I got this dress. It was either your birthday or Christmas, I forget.
It was one of them, yeah.
It was the ugliest thing. I was so
I know. It was supposed to be like stoned all in the top or whatever, sequins and rhinestones, and then like a cape and everything.
Yeah, and it was printed.
The rhinestones and sequins were printed on there. So there was no shine, no sparkle.
It was shit.
I think
it was the worst thing I've ever purchased.
Yeah, it's there somewhere.
I figured you'd talk about that.
I still saved it. But
you still have it, right?
Yes, of course I do. I'm going to regift it to somebody someday. But I don't know. I'm there's been other pretty bizarre gifts and stuff that I'm like, huh? Okay. All right. But you don't.
I knew you'd talk about that. Okay. So now you love to travel.
I love to travel. I love it because I always wanted to run away from home as a child, and now I get to live my life.
Well, you tell everybody what you do for packing if you go on a cruise. You got a backpack.
Oh yeah. So I will bring I'm going on a cruise, so I'm going to be on the beach and all that kind of stuff or whatever. I don't need to bring like fancy new shirts and stuff. I bring my old shirts, stuff that like might have a stain or whatever, and then I throw it away and I get rid of it and I toss it all. I have an old suitcase that the wheel is wonky. I'm like, take the suitcase. You can take that too.
Throw it away.
So I'll come back with a backpack and pack light. There's nothing worse than like having to come home with all your shit and everything and lugging it all around after your vacation. It's great to just enjoy.
Well, Steve and I, Mr. Davis and I sit and we watch the different places you've been to and we're just like push ourselves and take a vacation. What's like one of your top places you visited or vacations you've been on? I mean, you've been on river cruises, you've been on regular cruises, Mediterranean, all over the world.
But I do regret like not being physically fit enough when I did the German river cruise. I had an amazing time and all that stuff, but I wish I was more fit, that I could have walked around a lot more or taken the bicycles or whatever.
Oh, because there was a lot of like...
There was a lot of that. It's a great, cruise and all that stuff, especially if you're one of those like, I feel the water and I feel the motion. You never feel it on a river cruise.
Right.
You don't even realize that you're moving. But so I do regret sort of not being able to do those things. People are like, oh, well, we're going to save money for retirement and do stuff when we're old, but then you're not physically able to. So enjoy your life now and do things. But I like that whole balance. But some of the great places, I love going to like Puerto Vallarta and stuff. It's so much fun and fun party town. You never know what you're going to see. And there's, great things to do. Even though that one time I did get sick.
Well, you didn't have to go to hospital.
Yes. But woo, man, it was sad too. Cause I think you were like knocking on the door and you're like, are you okay in there? You've been in there for a long time. I was like, well, I'm cleaning the walls and stuff because I like shit up the walls.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. I'm still single, by the way. And so, I love there. And also, we were there for a few weeks, so we got to like learn the place and you get to really experience that. But I loved going to Hawaii. That was great too. I cashed in a lot of like frequent flyer miles and went there, and the people were so nice and stuff. And gosh, Australia is just always so wonderful too.
So good. That trip was too long though.
No, well, that's why I decided to stay there as long as I possibly could.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're probably in like at least business class, knowing Darienne Lake.
Well, the first time I ever flew to Australia, I was like, can I use all my upgrade points and all that stuff or whatever? And so I was able to upgrade. There was a lot of money, but I was like, you know what? I'm getting paid, like, even if I just go just for the experience. I'm a Sagittarius. I enjoy the journey more than anything else. So than the destination, and just that whole experience or whatever. Like, are we going to pay me this much and I'm going to spend that much? Okay, but I'm still going to enjoy something and experience it for the first time or whatever. So that was exciting to me.
All right. The last thing I want to talk about, because there's so much pressure in the drag world, in the entertainment industry. Tell everyone your thoughts on aging. I mean, it's an ageist industry.
Oh yeah.
And you're gorgeous, and I don't just say that. I mean, I've seen you at your worst.
I have a mirror. I get it. I've seen it too.
Look what's behind me. Another brick wall. I'm blending in. No, but honestly, like, what are your thoughts on the age? What words of wisdom can you share for people with regard to aging, or do you hate it?
It's no fun getting older and all that stuff and having new pains or what have you. And there's, people who have pains for their whole entire life, and so that's the hard part or whatever. But I'm not going to cash into be like, oh, I'm old now. And I'm just like, I'm me,
right.
But people are like, oh, hey, like even boys who are like hitting me up on the dating app, Uber Eats. And so when they're on there and they're like, how old are you? I'm like, does it matter?
Right.
Do you want to call me mommy? And they're like, oh, yes, please. And so I'm like, okay, let's have some fun. So let's not worry about ages or numbers or all that kind of stuff or whatever, because there are people who die at 27 years old, the 27 Club, and there are people who die at 97. So, we all get to enjoy our lives as much as we possibly can. So why even bother about like a number and stuff? And so for me, that's that. But and then you have to do something to sort of stay with it and stay in the, like no cap. You totally have to stay hip with the kids, and understand and learn. And, so.
Well, on the beauty aspect, we have tapes, we have fillers, we have Botox. Just ask Pandora. Wow, we love our sister. No, but I mean, like, we all have a little this, that, and the other, and that's fun. And it's very encouraging for people to do whatever it is they need to do to make themselves feel their best. It's really what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing too. It's like, I love going to see, like when we went to Palm Springs and we saw the old queens performing and stuff, and it just gives you a joy,
Oh my God.
You're just like, oh,
Yeah, it was really special to see them. They were just out there doing their thing.
I mean, look at like Joan Rivers, an amazing comedian all the way until she died,
right?
And stuff. And you're just like, you don't care about like, oh, well, she's old. Like, no, you're just like, she's hilarious. It doesn't matter, So like, I think that's great. There's Bianca Del Rio. I think she could replace Joan Rivers.
Oh my gosh,
in the ground.
She's amazing. All right, we have come to the end of our time, and of course we will have you back on again. It's just easy and fun and lots to talk. And this is probably the longest we've ever stared, made eye contact.
No.
I'm just saying.
Normally we look down at our phones.
We're usually looking at our phones, or we're side to side in a car, or you're in a show running around. But like I said this to other guests, I'm like, even to Mr. Davis, I'm like, this is a long time to stare face to face. But it's been really great, inspiring. And I always like to end everything with some dad jokes. So you can either, from your memory,
my memory,
we're going to do one, we'll go back and forth, or I like to just pull one from the box.
Yeah.
So you can go, do you want to go first?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I'll go
for it.
Sure. What time is it when the clock strikes 13? Time to get a new clock.
Okay. Where can you get a degree in ice cream making?
A degree in ice cream making.
A Sunday school.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
It's terrible.
As somebody who went to Sunday school.
Yep,
That's
triggering.
Most people...
You are an altered boy.
I am. Absolutely. Most people would be shocked to find out that I'm a horrible electrician. They'd be shocked. Get it?
Good.
That was
one more
from my memory.
That's your second one. All right, here's one for me. What is it? What did the father buffalo say to his little boy when he dropped him off at school? Bye, son. And on that note, I want to say thank you for being a friend, and thank you for tuning in and sharing and liking. And listen, we're going to have more people who are inspiring, motivating, and just a heck of a lot of fun. Thank you for watching and listening to Auntie here, recorded at Rockvox Studios and Productions and all that jazz. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, there's always time for kindness.